Hello there, my name is Sofia Barton. Welcome to this program called Hyem, which is created and produced by GemArts. So, in this workshop, you'll be learning how to make a watercolour collage. We'll be using recycled materials and anything you may have lying around the house. So, to show you what we're going to be making today, we're going to be making mini artworks such as these in the photo. So, you can make as many as you like. I've used coffee filters and tissue paper and all sorts, which we'll be talking about, to make a final piece like the photo here, which has many different textures, and it's a collage of a flower shape. Keeping that in mind, I am doing this because I am greatly inspired by kindness and hope and resilience and the symbol of the flower. I'm also really heavily influenced by things like nature around me, hence the flower. Now, you can create whatever you want in this workshop, inspired by the idea of Hyem, which means home in Geordie. I would love to see your work and what you create. So at the end of this video as well, there is a link where you can share your work with us. Now, let's get started. Some of the materials that you might need are a pen, a pencil, some paper cups, some paintbrushes, a glue stick, some watercolour paint tubes, some round coffee filters, some string, tissue paper, watercolour paper in A4 and or A3, magazine cuttings for the collage, and recycled sponges, cardboard, foam, plastic, any bits lying around the house. Now, let's get started. So, protect your surfaces before painting and then get some watercolour paper out. And then get your coffee filter over the watercolour paper. It doesn't matter if it doesn't fit. Just gently position it and then just flatten it down with your hands. Just spread it down and just make sure that your surface is nice and flat, and then it should flatten down by itself anyway. So now that we've done that, we're going to get out of our watercolour tubes and we're going to see what colours we have. So all watercolour tubes can differ a little bit, so I'm just going to have a little browse. So we've got a lemon yellow, got a yellow ochre, we've got a vermilion, which is like an orangey red, crimson, which is a darker red, and then an ultramarine blue, a lighter cerulean blue, a sap green. Also got our white as well, a burnt umber, and then our lamp black. So when we're opening the tubes, we just want to make sure we screw them and then we break the seal. So just screw it back on just to make sure that the seal's open. Now, what I'm going to do is just kind of figure out what colours I want to use from what I have. So I'm just going to decide on a few colours. The water and the colours will also make like an effect. You might want to get some kitchen roll if your hands get dirty as well. Mine often do. You can also use tissue paper if you don't have any coffee filters, if you want. So the tissue paper absorbs the paint in the same way as a coffee filter, but it might give you a slightly different effect. It's always good to play around and see all the different kind of effects that these create. So now I'm going to get out my cups. So I've got 3 paper cups out ready to fill with a squeeze of paint, and then I'm going to add water afterwards. So you can choose any colours that you want. I've chosen 3 colours in red, yellow and blue. So just the primary colours. So I've just sped this up just to show you what I'm doing. I'm going to get a round brush out as well, a size 10 or higher, to apply the wash. A nice big brush is always better for a watercolour wash. Add a little bit of water to the cups. Added about that much water to that much paint, as you can see. I'm going to add a bit more yellow because sometimes the yellow gets lost. It's a very light colour. So mix the paint in the cups with a little bit of water to make a colourful solution. And you can use your brush, as I'm going to do now, just to mix it up a bit. And then clean the brush in between the mixing, just to make sure that the colours don't get too mixed up. Start dabbing the paint onto the coffee filter with your paintbrush and have fun. So I've kind of started from the outside, going to the inside of the coffee filter, making like little segments, little triangular segments. And now you'll notice that the coffee filter kind of sticks to the paper underneath and it flattens it quite nicely. So it doesn't matter if you don't flatten it at the start. I've started with these sections. You can start with any variation that you like. If it bleeds in the middle, feel free to experiment with the different colours and all the other colours that they can create. So it's made a little bit of a purple in between. I'm now going to just add more of the yellow. And as you can see, the yellow and the red make a slight orange as well. And the yellow and the blue makes a slight green. Colours can mix or bleed into one another, creating different colours, shades and effects. So it's quite nice just to play around with these and the different kind of effects that they can create. Lie the coffee filters somewhere dry and let them dry out somewhere flat. So you want to keep both the coffee filter and the paper underneath. Here are some examples once they've dried. So don't worry if there's any tears or rips, you can still use them for the flower that we're going to make later on. Let's have a go at creating different textures now with the watercolour paints. So getting a bit of plastic that I had before, you can use a bit of the solution and dab it around the paper. You can also use a bit of cardboard from the packing to create different effects too. So you can either swipe it down or you can dab it in different ways. I've also curved the cardboard to make like a little D shape, and I've also scrunched up the plastic and made different other different textures as well. And I've also made lots of lines with it and kind of dissolved solutions. You can use a watercolour to layer your colours over the top of the paper as well with a brush. So layering will create different effects. So using the paint solution, you can make different layers on what you've already done as well. Dip the cardboard strips into the cups or directly apply the paint to swipe down for a different effect. So as you can see, I've used the blue and the red. So using 2 colours makes a different colour as well in the middle. Have a go at experimenting. You can always use different brushes as well if you prefer. You can use recycled materials and use cardboard and foam from packaging to make stamps. Have a go at different shapes from the cardboard. I'm cutting them out and experimenting. I've decided to go for a leaf shape. Different form will be harder to cut. The bumpier one is generally easier to cut or press into. Now, you can use scissors, but using the back end of a brush is easier. I'm going to make a star shape. I'm going to gently press the back of the paintbrush into the form to create my shape. So you can use the scissors to make more of an indent, but really it's easier if you just use the back of a paintbrush. Now, these will create different effects. Let me show you. You can add the paint solution we used before onto your form or card stamp. Make sure you add a lot of the solution paint to the stamp, ensuring it's evenly covered. Press the stamp onto the paper to create your print pattern. For the leaf, I used the blue and yellow solutions from the cups to make a green. You can also use the paint directly, but let me show you what the solution looks like. So I'm adding a lot of the solution onto the cardboard. Then you gently press down. When you press the leaf down, you may see the different textures of the cardboard through the green wash. You can directly apply the paint to the cardboard stamps. Just add some water on the top with a brush. Press the cardboard down to reveal a veiny, leafy effect. Make sure to let these dry afterwards. So you can see all the veins of the paint creating a lovely effect. You can also use string for different effects with paint. I'm using natural tweed string. Tip, pull the string straight. You can also scrunch it up. So let's see what we can do. Using string, you can bunch it up and dip it in paint for a random splattered effect. You can also paint over the string patterns. So just arrange the string down and then see what pattern you fancy. Now let's get ready to make the whole composition. This is to make the final flower artwork. Get together all of your painted pieces. You can use a magazine or newspaper cuttings too. I chose colours I liked from magazines. This was a good way of recycling them. Once you've decided on the colours you want, get a large piece of watercolour paper. I'm using A3. So what you can do is draw a rough outline of a flower in pencil if you want, or you can simply do this freehand and tear the petals like I'm showing you here. You see the different textures that we're getting. So tear out the petals for the flower from the watercolour coffee filters, watercolour pages and any magazines. You'll find you get different effects, and you can also use scissors if you want. Make sure to add a circle for the centerpiece for the petals to come out of. Keep tearing, cutting petals. When you tear paper, you can get a nice white textured edge. See how the composition looks on the paper. Take away or add parts. When you're happy with the arrangement, glue all of the pieces down at the very end. But for now, keep going and see how you feel. I'm adding 2 green leaves to the bottom, as well as a stem for the flower. So now that I'm happy with the composition, I am gluing the petals down one by one, layering them as I go. So I'm just doing this in a circle. Take your time when you do this part as well. You can also add a background with a wash of colour with a brush using the paint solutions we made at the start. If you want, you can use different colours. I'm just using the colours we used at the start of the video. I'm just filling all of the gaps in with lots of different colours. So now you can add details to your artwork using a black fine liner pen. I've decided to add details on the stem and the leaves. If you want, you can also add any patterns you like, including doodles and extra drawings too. You can also add more details after it's dried, like glitter or gold paint. Thank you for watching. Please share your artwork with us using the links at the end of the video.